Under the glow of the neon lights, the 25th floor was silent, except for the hum of a cleaning cart and the ticking of a clock. Past midnight, Rachel, the CEO, had not left her office, overwhelmed with documents and emails. Exhausted, she stretched and walked towards the panoramic window. The city sparkled, calm, but a figure on the outdoor platform caught her eye, near the edge. Her heart raced. She opened the emergency door, the cold air hitting her. "What are you doing there?" she shouted, half panicked, half authoritative. The man, in overalls with a cloth over his shoulder, turned around, surprised. "She's waiting for me," he said simply. Rachel, perplexed, stepped closer. "Who?" He pointed to the street. Below, under a street lamp, a little girl in a pink jacket, holding a stuffed animal, waved her hand. Next to her, an old woman was selling chestnuts. The little girl, Lily, jumped for joy. Joseph drew a clumsy cat in the fogged-up window, making his daughter laugh. "We do this every night," he explained. "She waits, I draw. It's our game." Rachel, frozen, watched Lily's joy. A whisper escaped her, if my child had lived, she would be her age. Joseph remained silent, respectful. A long silence settled, punctuated by the city's breath. "Her name is Lily," he finally said. 5 years old. No daycare, my sister is far away. Mrs. Wan, the vendor, watches over her." Rachel, softened, asked, "Do you work at night?" "I take what allows me to be there for her," he replied. A former painter, he cleaned to survive. Rachel looked at him, his worn hands, his tired but gentle eyes. "She thinks it's magical," he said, shyly. The wind lifted his sleeve. "I'm Rachel," she said. "I know," he replied. "The CEO." She raised an eyebrow. "And you?" "Just a cleaner," he said without bitterness. In that silence, Rachel felt less alone, Joseph less invisible. The drawing of the cat, ephemeral, remained etched. The next morning, in the bustling lobby, Rachel stepped out of the elevator, coffee in hand, her assistant rattling off her agenda. She stopped short. Near the reception, Joseph, in his janitorial uniform, was chatting with a guard, a backpack slung over his shoulder. Their eyes met. He gave her a polite nod, expecting nothing more. To her surprise, Rachel offered a discreet but sincere smile, a first for an executive towards an employee. That evening, staying late, she heard Joseph's cart. The solitude of the office faded under the sound of wheels on the tiles. She opened her door. "Are you still drawing, or was it just yesterday?" she called out. Joseph, taken aback, smiled. "It started with smileys. Now, she wants stars." Rachel stepped closer, a file in hand. "Does she know you were an artist?" He shook his head. "She thinks I painted stars." Rachel pressed on, "Were you?" He chuckled softly. "I tried." She leaned against the wall. "You don't talk like a cleaner." "I haven't always been one," he admitted. Hesitant, he recounted, before Lily, he illustrated children's books, creating space bunnies and rain dragons with his wife, Anna. They dreamed of a studio. But Anna died in an accident, leaving Joseph alone with Lily, then a baby. The orders dried up, money ran out. "Dreams don't feed you," he said. He pulled out a worn notebook, filled with colorful drawings, crayon skies, friendly monsters, children laughing under stars. Rachel, moved, murmured, "It's magical." "That was my world," he said. "Now, they're just memories." "Why stop?" she asked. "Dreams buy smiles, not food," he replied. Rachel closed the notebook. "Lily is lucky." "I'm the lucky one," he said. A shared silence settled. Rachel confessed, "They say I'm cold." "You were, before," she said. Joseph nodded, without judgment. As she left, she said, "Show me one day the painting of the girl on the moon." Her steps echoed, lighter. Under the pale light of her office, Rachel scrutinized spreadsheets, the numbers dancing before her tired eyes. The financial report, impeccably written, felt devoid of meaning, a weight on her soul. She sipped a cold coffee, rubbing her temples. An hour passed, motionless, as if trapped. She stood up and walked to the window. The city, indifferent, continued its course. Then, a noise. Joseph, outside, was cleaning the windows with precision. He stopped, blew on the glass, and drew a house, a smiley face, a heart. Rachel, motionless, watched him. He saw her, surprised, and nodded. She opened the door. "Joseph, come in. Take a break." He hesitated, his gloves in hand. "I'm not sure." "You are," she insisted gently. He sat down cautiously in a chair. Rachel poured 2 cups of tea, her nightly ritual, and offered him one. "Thank you," he murmured, surprised. A silence settled, punctuated by sips. "Why do you draw those symbols?" she asked. "Lily likes to guess what they are," he replied. "It calms her, she knows I'm there." Rachel nodded, then hesitantly asked, "What do you think of me?" Joseph, surprised, answered honestly, "They say you're cold, distant, heartless." She sighed. "They're not entirely wrong. I wasn't like this before." Her voice trembled. She fixed her gaze on the city. "I lost a baby 5 years ago. A boy. Sudden complications. I was 2 months away from welcoming him." Joseph listened silently. "My fiancé left 3 weeks later," she added. "He said I was too broken." She laughed bitterly. "They told me I might never have children again. I buried everything in work, meetings, numbers. I became what they describe." Joseph placed his hand over hers, warm and reassuring. "They don't see your strength, your gentleness," he said. "I see it." Rachel, moved, squeezed his hand. "You're not what they say either." They laughed softly, their wounds softened. That night, nothing was repaired, but a bond was born, a fragile refuge. The next day, Rachel left her office at the end of the day, a paper bag in hand. Without heels, in flat shoes, she approached Joseph, who was cleaning the windows in the hallway. "Joseph," she said softly. He turned around, surprised. She handed him the bag. "For Lily." Intrigued, he opened it and discovered a pair of pink shoes, adorned with daisies, in his daughter's size. He swallowed hard, moved. "You bought her shoes?" "Hers were wearing out," she replied, feigning lightness. "She jumps, she runs. She needs something sturdy." Joseph, holding the shoes like a treasure, murmured, "Thank you. She's going to love them." The next day, he knocked on Rachel's door, a brown bag releasing spicy aromas. "You said you missed home-cooked meals," he explained. "It's a dish from a local vendor, like my mother used to make." Rachel tasted it, her eyes wide. "It's delicious." They ate side by side in her office, the window slightly open letting in the breeze. For the first time in a long while, Rachel felt grounded, present. A few days later, she suggested, "How about a walk with Lily?" "Nothing formal, just to meet her." Joseph hesitated, then agreed. That Friday evening, after his shift, they met outside. Lily rushed over, her new pink shoes sparkling with every step. Rachel crouched down, smiling. "You must be Lily." "I'm 5 3/4, proclaimed the little girl. Rachel laughed. They walked, stopping at a stand for skewers and grilled corn. Lily, excited, pulled Rachel towards a cotton candy vendor. Joseph sighed, amused, and paid. Rachel bit into her skewer, laughing at Lily's stories about a ninja cat. "She gets that from her mother," Joseph said. On a bench, Lily fell asleep against her father, wrapped in his jacket. Rachel murmured, "She's lucky to have you." "Some days, I don't feel up to it," he admitted. "Being there is all that matters," she replied. Joseph smiled. "You laugh more often now." Rachel, moved, whispered, "I hadn't realized it." In that silence, warmth blossomed, a beginning of home. One evening, Joseph was cleaning the windows on the 22nd floor, his movements less precise, his hands trembling. The mop slipped from his grasp, and he swore under his breath. It wasn't fatigue, but a heavy worry. Rachel, at her desk, noticed him. His sunken eyes betrayed a deep anxiety. She approached him. "Joseph, you look terrible. What's going on?" He hesitated, used to keeping his troubles to himself, but her sincere gaze disarmed him. "It's Lily," he confessed. "She has a fever. I couldn't miss this shift. I left her with Mrs. Khan, she'll call if it gets worse." Rachel, shocked, exclaimed, "You left a sick child with a vendor?" Joseph flinched. "I had no choice. This job is all we have." Without a word, Rachel grabbed her keys. "Let's go." In the elevator, the tension was palpable. Rachel drove fast, her jaw clenched. They found Lily lying behind Mrs. Khan's stand, her cheeks flushed, breathing weakly. "I was about to call," said the vendor, apologetic. Without hesitation, Rachel took the child in her arms. "She's burning up," she murmured. "Get in." At the hospital, Rachel took charge, filling out forms while Joseph paced, consumed by guilt. Hours passed in waiting, sitting side by side in front of the pediatric unit. "I should have stayed with her," he murmured, broken. Rachel looked at him. "And how would you have paid the rent, her medicine?" "You did what you could." Finally, the doctor appeared. "She's stable, the fever is dropping. You brought her in time." Joseph collapsed in relief. Rachel, moved, hugged him tightly. He hesitated, then embraced her in return. "She's going to be okay," she whispered. In that embrace, mingled with sweat and lavender, a deep connection was born, a bond beyond fear, a silent promise not to let go. In the hospital room bathed in amber light, Rachel kept vigil by Lily's bed, the beeping of the monitor punctuating her thoughts. Joseph, near the window, stared at the shadows of cars below, silent. The heavy silence seemed to forbid words. Then, Lily moved, her fingers brushing the blanket. Her eyelids fluttered open, her gaze unfocused. "Mommy," she murmured, looking at Rachel. Rachel froze, breath caught in her throat. Joseph stepped forward, ready to correct, "Lily, that's not." But Rachel raised a trembling hand, stopping him. "Let her call me that," she whispered. "Just for now." Joseph looked at her, seeing in her eyes a new vulnerability, an old wound, gaping. Rachel took Lily's small, warm hand. "No child has ever called me that," she murmured, her voice breaking. Joseph, moved, felt a lump in his throat. Lily, exhausted, fell back asleep. Rachel remained still, her hands gripping the child's as an anchor. "She would have been 5, she suddenly said. "My daughter, if she had lived." Joseph sat beside her. "I was 5 months pregnant. Tyler, my fiancé, left after the loss. He couldn't bear my grief." She gazed at Lily. "I didn't cry for weeks. I went back to work, built this empire to fill the void. But it was never enough." Her voice faded. "She called me mommy. It shouldn't matter this much, but..." Joseph placed his hand over hers. "You were there when she needed you. You protected her. That's what a mother does." Rachel, eyes reddened, murmured, "I don't want to be a passerby in her life. I want to raise her, if you let me." Joseph, after a long silence, replied, "She already loves you. And so do I." Rachel laughed, between tears and joy. I wasn't ready to love again. Neither was I, he said. But you came in the storm. Hand in hand, they watched over Lily, a silent vow sealing their bond, not perfect, but true. Weeks passed, and a rumor began to circulate in the company corridors. Initially discreet, it spread like wildfire: Rachel Archer, the relentless CEO, and Joseph, the discreet cleaner. In meeting rooms, during coffee breaks, in cryptic emails, whispers filled the air: she's cracking, he's taking advantage of her, midlife crisis. Rachel heard them, in the silences that welcomed her, the averted gazes of executives, the sudden interest from the board in her private life. She began to doubt. Was she being reckless? Had she crossed an irreparable line? Was her empire, built stone by stone, threatened by this man with calloused hands and his daughter who called her mom? That evening, she was distant. Joseph sensed it from her forced smile, her eyes avoiding his. Near the loading dock, their usual refuge, he asked, "R.A., what's going on?" "Nothing," she replied too quickly. He pressed, "You're avoiding me." Rachel tensed. "I can't afford to appear weak." "Weak?" he repeated, hurt. "Because you love someone who doesn't wear a suit." "Because I love someone who..." She stopped. "Who what?" he asked, stepping closer. "Who doesn't belong to my world," she let slip. The silence that followed was painful. Joseph, fists clenched, murmured, "Why are you pulling away?" "Why do you insist so much?" she retorted. Her voice broke, "Because I already love you, and I'm afraid you'll forget it was real." Rachel, frozen, felt her defenses waver. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what it means, of losing everything." Joseph stepped closer. "Then build something new, with me, with Lily." Tears flowed. "I've never felt more myself than with you," she said. "But also so vulnerable." He took her hand. "You're not alone. Loving isn't a mistake." She nestled against him, her forehead against his chest. This silence was warm, soothing. Even in doubt, love was there, tangible, stronger than fear. A year later, an old empty space at the corner of 12th and Maple had transformed. A window adorned with painted stars announced, "Lily's Light Art Studio and Gallery." Inside, children laughed, brushes danced, and the walls were covered with colorful artworks. Joseph, sleeves rolled up, was teaching, his hands stained with paint. The man who used to clean the windows was now guiding others to see through them. No one knew who had funded this dream. The documents mentioned an anonymous donor, but when Joseph saw Rachel at the door, Lily on her hip, he knew. Rachel had changed, not in her impeccable suits or her confidence in meetings, but in the softness of her gaze, her free smiles. She left her office earlier to join the studio, swapping her heels for sneakers. 6 months earlier, Lily's adoption had been finalized. In a discreet courtroom, Rachel, trembling, had answered yes to the judge's question, tears rolling down before the gavel struck. Lily, fascinated by the gavel, was unaware of the significance of the moment. That day, they had become a family. For Lily's 6th birthday, the studio sparkled with lanterns and paper stars. Balloons, cake, and music filled the space. Rachel watched Joseph help Lily open her gifts, their eyes shining. When the guests left, Joseph took Rachel's hand and led her to a painting, "A House Under the Stars, a Woman Holding a Child." He pulled out a velvet box containing a chain engraved with R&L, adorned with a charm that Rachel recognized, that of her lost daughter, left on her desk the first night. "I found it," he said. "Now, it can symbolize something else." Rachel, moved, whispered, "It was all I had left of her." He closed his hand around the chain. "Rachel, you saved my life, gave a future to Lily, reignited my dreams. You made us whole." Lily shouted, "Mom, Dad, look." A candle had been relit. Rachel laughed, nestled against Joseph. They were not perfect, but they were real, a family born from loss and tenderness. The Lily's Light studio thrived, a refuge where Joseph taught art and Rachel rediscovered a part of herself. The walls, adorned with children's paintings, vibrated with life. Rachel, still CEO, juggled her role, but her true happiness was with Lily and Joseph. The adoption, formalized 6 months earlier, had sealed their bond. That day, in court, Rachel had cried, her voice steady despite the tears, promising to be there for Lily. The little girl, playing with a crayon, didn't grasp the significance, but her smile was enough. Lily, in her flashing pink shoes, called Rachel Mom without hesitation, a word that healed a deep wound. Every evening, Rachel left her office for the studio, her files forgotten, her heart light. On Lily's birthday, the studio overflowed with joy, lanterns, balloons, laughter. Joseph, crouched beside his daughter, helped her unwrap gifts, their faces aglow. Rachel, watching, felt a new fullness. When the party dimmed, Joseph led Rachel to the painting of the starry house. He gifted her a chain with a familiar charm, that of his lost daughter. "You've made us whole," he said. Rachel, tears in her eyes, embraced him. Lily, shouting Mom, Dad, pointed to a relit candle, adding a touch of magic. Their family, born of choices and scars, was complete. Rachel was no longer the cold woman of rumors, but a mother, a partner, alive. Joseph, once again an artist, painted a bright future. Their story, born from a simple gesture, proved that love, even unexpected, could heal the deepest wounds, under a sky of hand-painted stars. 1 year after their meeting, Rachel, Joseph, and Lily formed a family united by love, not by blood. The Lily's Light studio, born from a discreet donation by Rachel, was a haven where Joseph taught art, transforming dreams into colors. Rachel, always at the helm of her business, found her refuge in the laughter of Lily and the presence of Joseph. The adoption of Lily, sealed 6 months earlier, marked their commitment. Yes, Rachel had said to the judge, her voice trembling, formalizing this sacred bond. During Lily's 6th birthday, the studio sparkled, filled with joy. Joseph and Rachel, hand in hand, guided their daughter, their gazes overflowing with love. When Joseph gifted Rachel a necklace adorned with the charm of his lost daughter, he whispered, "You have made us whole." Rachel, crying, embraced him, while Lily shouted, "Mom, Dad," near a rekindled candle. Their story, born from a fleeting drawing on a window, proves that kindness can weave eternal bonds. Rachel, a broken CEO, and Joseph, a single father, found a home in their shared wounds. If this tale touches you, subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories to discover true and fictional stories of resilience and love. Share, comment, do you believe in second chances? In a hurried world, simple gestures, like a drawing or a glance, build homes where the heart heals, under stars painted by love.